Hello there, and welcome to the tutorial section of the Saigon Writers Club website. I really appreciate you checking us out and starting with this introduction tutorial. And the reason for this tutorial is to explain the modern short story. And so over 7 lessons, this is the intro lesson, it'll be talking about how do you write a short story? What are the rules? What are the parts? How do you break it down? What are some examples and so on? But first up, though, what exactly is the Saigon Writers Club? Well, I have here, this is a class for aspiring writers, students, and lovers of literature to study the craft of creative writing, research and write their own fictional short story, and become a published author. And we have a cheeky little statement there at the bottom called a distinguished club for writers who write. And that statement is on the cover of our anthologies. And so we have a few anthologies. You'll see on the left side of the screen there, Class 1 resulted in our first anthology, Rainy Season 2021. Class 2 and Class 3 resulted in our second anthology, Dry Season 2022. And in both cases, those anthologies had the short stories written for the class members who took part in that class. And at this time, at this recording, I should say, I am producing the Rainy Season 2022 anthology, our third anthology of short stories. And this is the result of Class 4 and Class 5. So going forward, the Saigon Writers Club, by the way, that's me there, Sam Korsmo. I am the founder and I'm the lead instructor of the Saigon Writers Club. That photo was taken at the open reading of our first anthology. And that was an exciting day because after each anthology is published, we then have an open reading where the writers get to stand up, talk about their writing journey, read some of their stories to all their friends and family and everyone who attends. It's quite a well-attended event. And writers do that. They stand up in front of people and say, hey, here's what I wrote. I hope you like it. And that's a tremendous feeling to be able to do that. And at the Saigon Writers Club, we not only teach you how to write, but we also publish. And then after you publish, of course, you have to tell the world what you wrote. And that's what we do at the open reading. We do this over 2 sessions, a dry season, January to June, and a rainy season, July to December. Subsequently, the title of our anthologies is Dry Season and Rainy Season. And our core product right now is a 10 session, each session is 90 minutes, creative writing class. And to that, we add 2 private one-on-one sessions with myself where I work with each writer individually, one-to-one, to get their short story done. And we cover all aspects of the creative writing process, all aspects of the short story format. And that's the purpose of this tutorial here. The classes that we'll have in 2023, we have in-person creative writing classes. So we start with a double session, 2 90-minuters, followed by 8 90-minute sessions. In-person double session weekend class, creative writing class. That's 2 sessions per weekend. So 5 weekends in a row, just in the morning, 9 to 12, 2 to 5, something like that. After 5 weekends, you've finished all 10 sessions and you're off and running with your short story. We have 2 online products, the same 10 90-minute session classes. One is specifically designed for students. So if you're a student who wants to study abroad one day, or you're competing for scholarships, this is your chance to have a published work as part of your portfolio, as part of your application. For professionals, online creative writing class for professionals, we're thinking here marketing people, PR people, business developers, communications people, journalists perhaps, to give you a sense of how to write creatively, coming up with fiction, use of words, creative, establishing a voice, a setting, good dialogue, and so on. And a new product for the 2023 will be flash fiction workshops and competitions. We'll talk more about that in another venue, but basically flash fiction is very short stories. And it's a very interesting model, I think, to research and to uncover. So this is lesson 1 of 7. Like I say, the other tutorials here, the videos tutorials will cover 6 parts of the short story, because the short story does have rules, sort of. You don't have to follow these specifically, but there are some rules. For example, 5 to 10,000 words can be read in one sitting, 2 or 3 main characters, 1 or 2 minor characters, a single event. Those things more or less have to be part of a modern short story. And there's also a trajectory or a model or a template of that. You have an opening introduction section. You have an inciting moment, the conflict. This is kind of what the story is about. Rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, denouement, the ending. So a normal short story will more or less follow that track. And over 6 classes, I cover each one of these. Part 1, how do you start the story? Introduce your characters, setting, voice, the beginning of the plot. Part 2 is the inciting moment, the point of conflict. Here's the plot. Here's what the story is all about. What's going to happen? Rising action. All the scenes, all the dialogue, all the action, all the developments of the story about that particular point of conflict. And then, of course, the climax. What happened? This is the result. This is the answer to the conflict. And this is really what the reader has been waiting for. Part 5, falling action. We explain the how and the why of the climax, the plot, follow up, and different things. And then, of course, part 6, the resolution. What did it all mean in the end? Untying or tying up of all the loose ends and the knots. And so hopefully you leave the reader with some kind of feeling, some kind of something. And so that is kind of the structure. And over the next 6 classes, each of these lessons, each of these tutorials will cover one of those. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5, Part 6, as shown here on this diagram. But here's the thing, I use my own short story, Memo from the Landlord, which I wrote and published in the Dry Season 2022 Short Story Anthology, as the teaching tool. So I use that story and I break this sucker down so you can really understand, okay, at least in this case with this short story, here's how I approached this structure of the modern short story. So I think you'll find it interesting, or at least I sure hope you do. And then most importantly, I hope you now go on and watch the next 6 tutorials. So thank you very much for your interest. Thanks for clicking on this link, and have a great day.